I know you're intrigued by the title, that you aren't crazy and that you were just trained to think small, and I will explain what I mean by that. But I want to start with a quote that I wrote myself, and I will put it on screen for you so you can read along. That is going to be the foundation of this video. So, the path of specialization creates a phenomenon where you try to attribute meaning to a certain way of thinking or experiencing life. You see what is in front of you through a lens that contains predetermined notions, beliefs, perspectives, and as a result, conclusions about life. A true polymath has to transcend this narrowing of the mind and should not aim to fit in any category, for a polymath is simultaneously part of all categories and neither of them. That quote is something that I wrote yesterday because I was doing some research into polymathy, or I think that's the right way to say it, because that's what I want this channel to be about. And I wrote this because I was reading a book and I was kind of circulating some ideas around what a polymath should be, what it should not be. And I think it came down to something that holds a lot of truth. I believe that we are currently going into a new world where polymaths are going to have an uprising again, where polymathy is going to be appreciated again, and specialism is going to be punished. Although that I don't feel like that's the right word to explain it, because punished seems very harsh, and I don't think specialism should ever be punished. But I think that people that are specialists are going to see the consequences of this new age of AI that we're going in, information no longer being a moat. Everyone now has access to information in all kinds of fields. Now, of course, there's a separation between professions and information about doing something with your hands or something physical compared to intellectual work where you have to use your mind. AI will most likely replace the intellectual part, right? That's where the information is no longer a moat, because you could just ask ChatGPT, Claude, and all kinds of other hyper specialized AI bots a question, and then it will just give you an answer based on the training data. So a polymath is going to be much more important in the world that we're going into right now, because if AI can automate part of your thinking, part of your work, and you are a specialist in an intellectual field, then that means that you are at risk of being replaced by AI. And then you no longer have anything else to fall back on, to rely on as a second expertise, unless you've cultivated that, which is ultimately what a polymath does. A polymath build expertise in more than two fields. Poly means more than two. And so that means that doing that, you become irreplaceable because you have such vast expertise in more than two fields, and you can kind of connect the dots. You have novel knowledge that other people don't have. You can make connections and form solutions to unique problems because of the fact that you have knowledge in multiple fields. If you're just a specialist in one thing, for example, I studied law, I did international humanitarian law, so technically I would be a specialist in international humanitarian law, although I don't really like that term, but I would be in that sense. If at some point I needed to have expertise in something other than that, I would be lost. So it is my job to cultivate as much knowledge and experience in other fields so that I can make connections, so that I could see problems in the international humanitarian law space from another angle. Because what I said in the beginning of that quote, the path of specialization creates a phenomenon where you try to attribute meaning to a certain way of thinking or experiencing life. You see what's in front of you through the lens that contains predetermined notions, beliefs, perspectives, and as a result, conclusions about life. if you hyper specialize, you will see all the problems from that one lens. You don't see them specifically from lenses from other like through lenses of other fields and other types of knowledge. And that is really what is going to be important in the next few decades, is people that can see problems from many different angles and that way form a solution to that problem that no one else can think of. Those are going to be the most valuable people with the most valuable ideas. And that's just what I wanted to get across today, is this quote that I wrote, and that you should not aim to fit in any category. You should not aim to be part of a hyper specialized niche anymore. You need to think a bit broader. You need to combine multiple things. Humans have the capability to do amazing things in many different fields. Previously, like years and years and years ago, humans used to hunt, they used to be healers, they used to be cooks, they used to be, what else? I mean, those were pretty much the basic things that you needed to be able to do. But then came learning and reading and crafting and much, much, much more. And people nowadays, they hyper specialize. They don't go for multiple interests or multiple skill sets at the same time anymore, because there are other people that have their own expertise and then a group there that has their own expertise. It's like, I understand that you would say that you shouldn't, question a dentist on his profession because he's the specialist. But would it be so wrong to motivate people to actually do research in those fields themselves? Obviously with reason, right? You can't study psychology for 3 months and then be a psychologist. You can't do that. Of course, you're going to need to build expertise and you're going to have to devote time to that. But it's very important that you keep this open mind of just continuous learning, and that you don't take a certain expertise level for granted. You continuously need to keep learning and keep building skill sets that would allow yourself to set yourself apart in the future, because that's where we're headed. And another thing in that is personal branding. Personal branding is going to become much more important, because the more someone can attribute value to you as a person, your face, you are the face of the brand, the more valuable you become. If people just come to you for information and you're not really a brand, you're someone that people come to for a specific type of information, and you're at risk of being replaced by AI, then that whole value could disappear overnight and you have nothing to fall back on, like I said. So you need to set yourself apart from everyone else, and one way to do that is to formulate or express yourself in a unique way that is completely you. That is your beliefs, your expectations, your experiences, your beliefs, your philosophy, how you think, your opinions. All of that needs to be expressed in public if you want people to resonate with who you are and follow you for who you are and what you stand by or for. So that's really it. That's what I wanted to get across. I built a community which is completely free for polymaths, for people who have multiple interests and want to advance in those and make something real with that, to become successful by combining those multiple interests. If that's something that you all might be interested in, then you could check it out in the description. Like I said, it's completely free. And I would love to connect with you in there, talk about, all the weird passions and interests that you have, so that I also can learn. So that's it for this video, and I hope it brought you some insights. I hope you learned something from it, or that it just helped you get to, a new realization. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.